Amorim sends a clear message to Ineos about his transfer demands and what he wants in the summer. And well, not many players are safe. Manchester United are actually working on a deal for Quenda right now as we speak. There's agent talk going on with George Mendes. Rasmus Hojlund's exit is looking more and more likely, with more news reports adding fuel to the fire that Hojlund could leave. Zirkzee could leave. Both players could be going back to Italy. But Fabrizio Romano has given an update on United's sort of targets, who they're looking at, and what Ruben Amorim wants in the summer window. He sort of revealed United's transfer plans somewhat going forward. Obviously, it's early days. We haven't got the sporting director in, but I think it's pretty obvious who United will look to want to bring in profile-wise and who they will want to get out. But I think in terms of actual targets to replace the players we want to get out, I think we'll have to wait till nearer the summer. But it was said by Romano on Amorim's transfer plans this: Ruben Amorim keeps telling Manchester United how crucial it is to bring in players who can give the intensity to the squad. This is the key word that will dominate the summer transfer window for Manchester United. Now, if you watched my video last night, we spoke about Casemiro, how he could go out on loan if the team's willing to cover his wages, and how he's not really getting on any minutes under Ruben Amorim. And Ruben Amorim said it's because of the intensity. He likes Casemiro, the player. He's a good player. He reads the game well, but he needs an intensity. And we know that intensity is so key for Ruben Amorim. That's why we don't see much of Eriksen. That's why we don't see Casemiro at all. We know that intensity is so important, and we know that he's frustrated with the lack of tempo and intensity he saw from United for the first 60 minutes versus Leicester, the first 70 minutes versus Southampton, and he wants players that can bring that intensity. You look at Dorgu in that game; he got hooked at halftime, and I'm not quite sure why. But the way he was running, he had that intensity, and that's so key to what Ruben Amorim wants. It was said that Manchester United's intention is to sign at least one player who can play behind the striker and one centre forward, a proper number 9 who can score goals regularly. We also know we're working on a fullback. Now, Laurie Whitwell's a very credible source of information. He said priority is a striker. We know that we're working on Quenda as the right wing back, and we know after that it will be striker and player that can play behind the striker. Gyokeres, Cunha, two that are linked. We'll talk about that in a second. We also know that we'll probably look at another body in midfield if Casemiro and Eriksen both leave, and we'll probably be looking at another centre-back for depth. I think they're the 5 positions that United will be looking to strengthen in the summer. And I think striker and player behind the striker, the left 10 and the striker is really important, because right now Ahmad is the only player in the front three that I think, yeah, he suits Amorim ball. Amorim wants him there. Amorim wants him to play. But Ahmad is also our best right wing back at the moment. But Amorim obviously wants Ahmad to play 10, which I think is why we'll be focusing on a right wing back in Quenda very soon. So who are the striker and left 10 targets? Now, if we're to believe reports, and I have to say it's still early days, it will be Cunha and Gyokeres. Now, I know that Manchester United are generally interested in Cunha. He's a player we've watched for a while. He's a player we almost signed in the summer. He's a player we almost signed when Ten Hag first came in. We do like him, and we know he's perfect for Amorim's system. He has a 62 million release clause. He's open to the move, but there could be competition, but we know we like the player there. That's what we know in terms of Matheus Cunha. Now, Gyokeres is one that's been linked to Manchester United a lot, and we need a striker, and the player's open to United, and he's worked under Amorim. But I do think a lot of the Gyokeres links is because he's just played under Amorim before. I do think Gyokeres and Cunha are probably 2 players that look the most realistic targets in terms of striker and left 10, but I reckon we have a few other striker targets on top of Gyokeres, if I was going to be completely honest. But apparently both players are open to United, and these could be the striker and the player that can play behind the striker we're looking at. And if we're talking Ahmad, Cunha, Gyokeres front 3, and then you've got Garnacho to come off the bench, because we've seen how good Garnacho can be off the bench, that's quite good option-wise. But then I think if we're going to sell both strikers, we need another player that could play in the number 9 role. Now, why am I talking about Cunha? Because he's been linked a lot. Manchester United are following Cunha's development very closely. He has a release clause worth over 60 million this summer, which will take effect from June. I think it's 61.8 million or 62.3 million. It's like a random number I read somewhere. But we know that. We know we're interested in Cunha. We've been interested in Cunha for ages. And Fabrizio Romano said that even in January, he showed a bit of interest in Cunha. He said Manchester United called in December to discuss the situation of both Douglas Luiz and Cunha, but they never made a formal approach in January as it was too expensive and not easy, blah, blah, blah. But the fact that we had a call about Cunha in January, I think if we sold Garnacho, I think we'd have been in a different position in regards to Cunha. I think Cunha is who we see as the Garnacho replacement. Cunha plays as a left 10 for Wolves. He's made for the system. You know, he's linked to all these other big clubs that want to play him left wing or centre forward. forward, but we will be playing Cunha in his best role at left turn. I think he's just so perfect. The only concern I have is he's had a few injury issues, but nothing massive. I think he's perfect for Amorim ball. But let's talk about this big striker overhaul, because I think Cunha and Gyokeres seem to be what we're looking at doing. But I think if we sold both strikers, I think there could be another attacking enforcement. Now, what do we know on the striker situation so far? Because there was rumours in the January window that Joshua Zirkzee was quite close to leaving. This is what's been said on the striker situation. Juventus are the most interested club in Rasmus Hojlund and could intensify their interest in the next few months. Manchester United would accept offers in the region of 40 million. Juventus asked for Joshua Zirkzee on loan with a buy option in January, but Manchester United and the player both rejected the approach. So we know that there's interest from Juventus in both Zirkzee and Hojlund. We know there's interest from Milan in Rasmus Hojlund and from West Ham in Rasmus Hojlund. There could be a big striker overhaul where both strikers could just be sent back to Italy. I think Juventus are going to go for Zirkzee in the summer. I think Thiago Motta wants that. I think that Zirkzee's not even been awful for United. He's shown what he can do. He isn't just what Amorim wants. I think Zirkzee could go. I think Zirkzee's I'm not saying that Zirkzee's been good, but I think people have made out that Zirkzee's worse than he is. I think, he has some good touches, he has some good hold-up play. He plays better when the players around him are playing at more intense speed because he thrives off the players around him. But I reckon Zirkzee will go to Juventus in the summer. I think that's what Thiago Motta wants. And I think there's a lot of interest in Rasmus Hojlund from AC Milan and other clubs. And I think a 40 million price tag isn't a bad price tag on Hojlund as well. And I wouldn't be surprised if both strikers left. I'm confident one striker goes. I still think Zirkzee is more likely to go, despite him probably being in the better form than Hojlund. Just because I'm thinking of long-term fit for Amorim's system, but we'll have to wait and see. It was said that Rasmus Hojlund will effectively be on trial between now and the end of the season. Ruben Amorim has been far from convinced by the player. We know that Hojlund is on trial because this is his second season. Barada has 2 seasons with you out, but obviously he is young, he is raw. They might be a bit more lenient with that, but the problem with Hojlund is he's regressed. In his 3rd season, he was young and raw, but he scored 16 goals. He showed something, and he had some good games. This season, he's massively regressed. Everything's going wrong for him. Obviously, confidence plays a big part. And I think, if you have 2 poor seasons and you're young, if you at least show some kind of progress, you can get that 3rd season. But when you're showing regression and that you're struggling and that you're not fitting the system, it could be the end of Hojlund. I still think Hojlund can go on to have a good career and be a good player. I think it'd be ridiculous to write off a 21-year-old striker. But it is worrying how he's regressed. It was said that Manchester United are prepared to sell Rasmus Hojlund if they receive a suitable offer, either in this window or the summer. AC Milan and Juventus could both move for him if they fail to land their preferred options. There are also some interest from Hojlund in the Bundesliga. We also know that West Ham are interested as well. There's a lot of interest in Hojlund. There's a 40 million price tag there. He's not on ridiculous wages. We'll have to see what happens between now and the end of the season with Hojlund, because I do think confidence would make a massive difference. But it's frustrating with Hojlund because I think if you give him the ball and you give him service, I think he can score. And I think he can be a good striker. And he's young, and there's still a long way to go. But when his touch is so bad, his movement's so bad, and he's just not progressing. And I think that's the fear around Rasmus Hojlund is if you're not progressing in your 2nd season or at least showing signs of improvement, this is where we're worrying. And this is where if the manager's not seeing it either, this is when we worry. Now, Amorim said himself the players around Hojlund need to be better for us to see a better Hojlund, which again is partly true. But let's talk about ins. What is the latest on Quenda? Now, I said Kenda, and then everyone said, no, it's Quenda. And then last video I said Quenda, and everyone's saying it's Kenda. So I don't know. Quenda. Apparently, every time I say it, someone tells me I say it wrong. So tell me down below what it is. I'm just going to say Quenda. Manchester United met with agent George Mendes in November, and his agency is now negotiating on behalf of 17-year-old Quenda and his representatives. Manchester United remain open to signing sporting winger Quenda despite the arrival of Patrick Dorgu. Dorgu will be left wing back, Quenda will be right wing back, but they can both play on either side. I still think we should look at Gyokeres and just get Luke Shaw, Malacia out, and maybe even Dalot out, because I don't know if it fits the system, and you could probably get 30+ million for Dalot, which could fund the signing. It was said that Patrick Dorgu is expected to be primarily used as left wing back rather than the right, and I think that is the case. I'm not sure why Amorim played him on the right, especially because Ahmad's left-footed. I have no idea why Amorim played him on the right. Maybe so he could communicate with him more. But yeah, I think we've brought a left wing back. I think we will eventually see him on the left. I think him playing on the right was a bit of a weird one there. But in terms of Patrick Dorgu, what do we actually know about him? Because there was interest from Napoli and other clubs in the summer. And Romano interestingly said this: Manchester United beat Napoli and Juventus to the signing of Patrick Dorgu. Both Italian clubs were in talks to sign him in the summer. to talk some in the summer, but Ruben Amorim's direct call with Dorgu had a big impact in changing the story and making the deal happen. I'm assuming Ruben Amorim said in that call, it's now or never for Manchester United. I play an attacking system. You will be an attacking wing-back in my system, la la la. I'm going to get the best out of you because you can play wing, and I think profile-wise, we are the perfect side for Dorgu. Like, you know, Arsenal been linked to him and needing a left-back, but actually I think profile-wise, we are probably the team that fits Dorgu the most because we play with wing backs that are essentially wingers, and that's sort of what Dorgu is as well. Anyway, I wanted to wrap up today's video, keep it into 10 minutes, but that is all the latest Manchester United news rounded up into a 10-minute video. I thought it was quite a bit of interesting news today, but anyway, let me know your thoughts down below. Thank you for watching. Bye.